This episode brought to you by Nurgle's Rot. May you be blessed with pustules. Also by subscribers and patrons like you. CGN fans, welcome to another This Old 40K and challenge video. I challenged Terrainaholic, well, actually, he challenged me after the DM Scotty video to a styrofoam build-off, a challenge, of course, that I cannot refuse. Now, Terrainaholic has access to not only a lifetime of styrofoam mastery, but also a master-level styrofoam workshop. But at the end of the day, who reigns supreme is not up to me or Bill. It will be decided by our esteemed panel of judges, including the rest of the CGN crew and DM Scotty. So let's get to this fantastic build-off against Terrainaholic.
Use a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 inch thick piece of foam, which is my weapon of choice. Since this is being done to be judged by DM Scotty, it is only fitting that we brought cardboard to the field of battle, shall we say. Over the next week to 2 weeks, I will be finishing up on my project, and I want to take you through the process that I used to build it, and then present you with the entire table. So thank you, Aaron, and thank you, DM Scotty, and thank you all to Aaron's Cool Guy Nation friends who are going to be partaking in judging and enjoying this entire process. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
We're going to be making 6 to 8 of them, and I'm going to go over all of the different pieces that we need in order to make this right now. Let's just quickly take a look at it spinning around in a nice circle. It's very pretty. I'm really excited to make 6 to 8 of these of various different sizes in order to make my complete board using foam. We're going to be going over the supplies for this project. We are starting out with our styrofoam, and we have a problem because this piece of styrofoam is much bigger than my workspace, and I'm going to have to do some individual cutting before we can put this on the Proxon. Next up, we have hexagonal laboratory dishes. I really like these. 5mm glass beads, and we have a lot more than this. I do want extra credit points with DM Scotty, so I'm going to be using chipboard or cardboard, essentially non-corrugated cardboard from leftover boxes as the bases for each one of my 7 to 9 terrain pieces. Painter's tape, white glue. For painting the crystals, I'm going to be using just regular old acrylic paint. I have white, I have blue, I have red. These are going to be turned into purple. Airbrushing, and for that we're going to be using airbrush medium, game color hexed lichen purple, and game color alien purple. Ooh, alien. And then of course we are going to need razor blades. Now, styrofoam cuts best with fresh razor blades, which also cuts your flesh the best. So we're going to be using the Proxon hot wire cutter as much as possible. That of course brings us to the Proxon hot wire foam cutter with my custom adjustable gate. We do have the problem though that trying to work with this giant piece it's not going to work. So the first thing I have to do is cut this down so that we can use our Proxon. We are going to move this lamp there, move that. Okay, so that's about as far forward as the Proxon can go, and we need to have clearance. Get this all the way back 4 inches. Cutting styrofoam, no need to do a whole lot of force, just let the blade cut whatever feels is right, and take as many passes as you want, and then crack it off. This is at the front of the table. I should be able to run this through. I want to have a variety of crystal shapes. Pretty much I want 1x1s and 2x2s. And to make the 2x2s, I'm going to be cutting 2-inch pieces and then gluing them together. I am wearing a foam respirator and I have my office door open with a fan blowing inside. Beautiful. Actually, I forgot a step. Toothpicks. Glue. Heavy on the glue. Spread it around. Put our pieces together. And then we're going to put in a toothpick on either side. Going to help us keep it aligned. It'll be much easier to put the duct tape on. Beautiful. Next, we're going to be using our hexagon dishes to build our actual terrain bases, and we are going to be holding these together with a combination of white glue and super glue. As you can see, I just lay them next to each other. I use a dab of super glue in the corners in order to keep them solid, and then I add the white glue to bind it all together, and I'm going to let these dry overnight. And I'm going to try to make a variety of shapes and sizes, the smallest being 2x2 and the largest being, I believe, 8x8. So I see that our tiles are nicely glued to each other. The super glue and the white glue makes a very strong bond. Next, we have to work out the walkways, and we want to make sure that the walkways have enough space that the glass beads are going to be flush. I've already calculated that that is going to be 1.25 inches. First, I'm going to laser cut out of this old chipboard a bunch of paths so that we can glue those in, and then we can start working on adding crystals. We have our first path shape cut, and we are going to be laying them in and gluing them down with super glue and white glue. Okay, we have our triangle shape, which fits nicely in there. Remove the tape. Bingo. Now I want to put a crystal kind of in the middle of it, about that angle. Now I'm going to mark the areas that I need to cut out so that it sits flat. Cut some crystal shapes. is dope. Next, we're going to add on some smaller crystals attached to the main crystal, once again using toothpicks and white glue. Styrofoam, I can't spray paint, but I want to spray paint the base with the glass beads on it. So I need to mark where this is going to go using painter's tape, and then I'm going to fill the rest with glass beads. Let that dry. So while we're waiting for that to dry, we are going to paint our crystal white. Then we're going to come back and do a second coat later. It is time for second coat. Now we shall paint our crystal, which we're going to do with craft paint. I'm going to make a blue wash, just some blue and some water, and a purple wash, which is purple. You guessed it, water. There you go. Now we let that dry. Now our wash is dry. We're going to go back to white. Very minuscule. We let that dry again. Once it's dry, we're gonna get a nice Mod Podge gloss finish. Best way to mix Mod Podge, roll it back and forth on your table. It even says so in the instructions. Okay, we want this crystal to be glossy, shiny, so we're gonna be using Mod Podge. It's nice and mixed up. I have a foam applicator. It's the next day. Our crystal is nice and shiny with that Mod Podge all dry. I did try out adding some Pearl Essence to the Mod Podge, which is pretty cool. Like, it's actually pretty cool, but I think I'm just going to keep the clear Mod Podge for the crystals. We can see that this fits in here nicely. What we need to do is take off our painter's tape, prime this black. Hey everybody, I made a mistake here. Black was the wrong color to prime the base, especially for using purple. I needed to prime it white. As you will see in a second, the purple paint does not cover the black at all. So it was here that I changed tactics and I decided to prime it white, and then I changed to the airbrush instead of a brush for putting on our base coat. Now this gave me two really awesome things. One, it made the hexagon crystal bases like very smooth and shiny and cool, and I was able to do a nice highlight using two different colors of purple, a dark purple and a light purple, and it also made finishing the entire project a lot faster. But I did make a mistake. Don't prime it black, prime it white. We have primed this white, and now we are going to airbrush it dark purple. To do that, I'm going to use Game Air Hexed Lichen and Air Medium. Once that's dry, we are going to add an edge highlight with alien purple. And there we go, we have the highlights. I think it looks freaking awesome. Now we need to attach the base. Normally for the base I would use some sort of chipboard, but I don't have any, so I have a whole bunch of thick cardboard. This is from the Marvel Crisis Protocol box. I'm going to be using stuff like this to base my bases. Now we're going to put some weight on top of this, and we are going to let it sit. Okay, well, good morning everybody. I decided to let the project just sit overnight, so it's the morning, and I put my old laptop on it for weight, and it is very well stuck down. Now we're just going to cut it out. Way when I cut, particularly when I want to cut straight lines, I never try to cut at a weird angle away from myself. I always try to cut in a direction towards me, but where if I slipped, it would go past my body. We're going to take our hexed lichen and we're just going to paint the bottom. Last step, we just need to glue our crystal on. And there we go, we have our first piece done, another 7 to make. Let's just time-lapse our way through this. So at this point, I decided to make a little bit of a change. As you can see, this one, I have the crystal in the middle of the path, and that was kind of a pain to get the crystal to fit perfectly there. Also, I like the way it looks, but I came up with this idea, and that is to put the crystals in the middle of each one of the hexagon cups, and leave the path completely unobstructed. And I like this a lot more. So I don't have a lot of great mat choices here at my house at the moment. I think there's definitely mats that would go better with this crystal terrain, but I thought that this sort of like desert brown landscape gave a nice contrast to the crystals, and overall I really like the way they look. I think they function nicely between each other. I like how you can set them up and create sort of like a large geometric area, or you can spread them out and have a whole bunch of different pieces of area terrain. I also like that they happen to go pretty nicely with my purple marines. I didn't consciously do that, but I guess I kind of consciously did that, and overall I'm really happy with it. So let's show it to the CGN crew, to Bill at Terrainaholic, and to Scotty. Let's also take a look at Terrainaholic's project and get the final verdict as who is the winner for this styrofoam build-off. My suspicion, probably Terrainaholic, but hey, let's go to the live video and check it out.